All right, let's imagine the world has ended. Not with a bang, but with a slow, grinding halt. The grocery stores are empty, the pantries are bare, and you're huddled in the ruins of a kitchen. Suddenly, a flicker of movement. A dark, chitinous shape skitters across the floor. And the question, the one you never thought you'd seriously consider, pops into your head. Would you eat it? Would you eat a cockroach to stay alive? This isn't just a grim hypothetical, it's the premise for the greatest animated short film never made. Our star, of course, is the humble cockroach, a creature we've spent centuries trying to annihilate, only to find it might be our last resort. And frankly, it's a logical choice. These things are marvels of resilience. Depending on the species, a cockroach can live for a month, maybe even 3, without a single bite of food. They can't last as long without water, only about a week, but still impressive. Their diet is flexible. They'll eat leaf litter, glue, each other. They've been doing this for millions of years. This isn't their first apocalypse. And it turns out we're not the first humans to consider insects as a viable food source. The ancient Romans apparently had a taste for beetle larvae, fattened up on flour and wine. Pliny the Elder wrote about it. Even John the Baptist, out there in the wilderness, supposedly survived on locusts and wild honey. So historically, we're in good company. But a locust, a cricket, that seems almost palatable. A cockroach, on the other hand, carries the weight of all our modern revulsion. It's the symbol of urban decay and filth.
But let's push past the disgust for a moment and talk nutrition. Because in a survival situation, calories are king. And here's a fact that is both fascinating and deeply disturbing. There's a specific type of cockroach, the Diploplectra punctata, that produces a kind of milk to feed its young. Scientists found that the protein crystals in this substance are one of the most nutritious things on the planet. Over 3 times the energy of the same amount of dairy milk, packed with essential amino acids. A complete superfood, scuttling right under your floorboards. So problem solved, right? We just need to start milking cockroaches. Well, hold on. There's a reason we associate them with filth. Wild cockroaches are walking petri dishes. They're known carriers of Salmonella and E. coli. They can harbor the eggs of parasitic worms. Ingesting one could give you a bad case of, well, a bad case of everything, just when you can least afford it. And let's not forget the pesticides. A roach that's been crawling through a city has likely picked up a nice coating of whatever chemicals we've used to try and kill it. So you're not just eating a cockroach, you're eating a toxic little time bomb. Suddenly that superfood doesn't sound so super. But the biggest hurdle isn't the parasites or the poison, it's in your head. It's the visceral, gut-wrenching feeling of disgust. Psychologists call this the behavioral immune system. It's an ancient, hardwired instinct that screams, danger, pathogen, do not put that in your mouth. It's why we recoil from things that look, smell, or feel rotten. In most of Western culture, insects fall squarely into that category. It's a cultural taboo. We see entomophagy, the eating of insects, as something done only in the most desperate of survival scenarios, or by cultures we've unfairly labeled as primitive. But in many parts of the world, it's completely normal.
In Mexico, chapulines, or grasshoppers, are a popular snack. In Thailand, you can find a wide variety of fried insects at street markets. For about 2 billion people on Earth, insects are just another food source. Our disgust isn't universal, it's learned. And in a world gone wrong, it's a lesson we might have to unlearn, and fast. This is where our animated film finds its heart. The humor isn't just in the gross-out factor, it's in the psychological drama. The animation would use exaggerated facial expressions to show the internal war, the gnawing hunger versus the primal gag reflex. We could use rotostimping, tracing over live action footage, to make the character's trembling hand as it reaches for the insect feel terrifyingly real. The whole thing would look like a moving painterly illustration, blurring the line between a beautiful art film and a stomach-churning horror show. And how would you even market such a thing? You can't. You just release it into the wild, like the cockroach itself. It finds its home in the dark corners of the internet, shared among fans of apocalyptic fiction, survivalists, and people with a very, very dark sense of humor. It becomes a cult classic, a litmus test. Because ultimately, the question isn't just about the physical act of eating a cockroach. It's about the mental leap. It's about what parts of your old self you'd have to kill to survive. The disgust, the cultural programming, the idea of what is and isn't food. The film wouldn't give you an easy answer. It would just hold up a grimy, cracked mirror. The real horror isn't the insect on the floor. It's the reflection staring back at you, a fork in one hand and a desperate new reality in the other, wondering just how far you're willing to go. And the most unsettling part? You probably already know the answer.